Jumping mechanics. So I want to take a second right now and talk about the takeoff and landing positions when we're jumping. There's a lot of important aspects that are going on. We're not just running and jumping and seeing how high we can go. We want to make sure that when we jump, we know how to land correctly and take off correctly so we don't injure ourselves. So I'm going to start from the bottom half and work our way up, because this incorporates all of our body, from our feet, the way we land and have the position that they're in, from our hips and what we do to get that triple extension, using force with our arms, all of those aspects. So facing you, what I want to talk about first is the positioning of our feet. Our feet want to be underneath our shoulders. So what that means is kind of shoulder width apart. You hear that a lot. So we want to be underneath our shoulders. A lot of athletes like to go out here, but that's not a powerful position, and it's a position that can put us at a risk for injury. So we don't want to let our knees collapse, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So we want our feet right underneath our shoulders. We also don't want them to really externally rotate. Okay, so a lot of people sometimes get in a squat rack and they put their feet out like this. It's not really an athletic position. We want to be an athlete, and our feet got to be pointed forward. So we're trying to get our feet pointed exactly forward underneath our shoulders. Then we're going to be on the ball of our foot, right? So our heel is just going to be off the ground. It's not way up here on our toes. Heel's just off the ground. We're going to be on the ball of our foot. So again, as I face you, when I go to jump, I'm going to sink down, right? I'm going to load, and my weight's going to be over my toes, and I'm bending at my ankle, I'm bending at my knee, and I'm bending at my hip. That's why it's important to have mobility in all of those joints. So as I bend, I'm sinking, I'm going lower, and I'm going to load my glutes. My quads are going to be activated, but I'm going to load my glutes, and that's what's going to help push me up. My core is going to be strong, so I'm going to be that rod from my ear through my hip. As I bend, it's going to be strong. I don't want to be here. I'm not going to be powerful trying to stay upright. I'm over the top, so as I go up, I'll stay shoulders over hips, hips over toes. I'll go straight up or slightly forward. We don't ever want to go backwards, because in there we're not going to be able to control that or land correctly, and we may end up even landing on our back. So from there then, our arms are going to be involved in adding and creating force. So we put them up here to go down, and they drop, and as we whip our arms into the ground, we're adding force. They go back behind us, and as we take off, we're putting that force into the ground to help lift us up. So we get that whipping motion down, rip those arms through, and then if we're not holding a ball or going for a ball or anything, we're just going to go to what is called blocking. So it's right about your nose or at your eyes. We don't want to work on reaching up here right now when there's nothing, because it's going to get us out of that postural position and affect the way we land. So when we're jumping, everyone wants to talk about how high you can jump. You know, can you grab the rim? How can you jump? Can you jump 10 feet? Can you touch 11 feet? Whatever it is. We also are missing the most important fact when we talk about that. We need to be able to land. So the most important thing is being able to control that force into the ground. So what we need to do is learn to anticipate and decelerate our body. That's where a good majority of our injuries happen. So with that, we're going to build that neurological pathway again. We're going to tell our body and our brain to send signals to those muscles, so when we land, we fire. And we're going to talk about landing softly, controlled, and anticipating. So again, this is one where I like to tell my athletes, imagine you're trying to sneak out of the house when you land. You wouldn't land with a big thud. You would anticipate, and you'd catch the ground. So that means your ankles got to bend, your knees got to bend, your hips got to bend, and you got to sink, and you catch the ground, and you focus on landing correctly. So lots going on there. One more aspect I want to look at is our knees and the position that our feet can affect that. So we don't want our knees to be able to collapse into valgus. So if we have weak hips, in a lot of our drills we work on strengthening our hips, right? Not just our quads and our glutes, but our hips. If we have weak hips, that may allow our knees to collapse into what we call valgus. And if we're externally rotated and our foot pronates, that means rolls in, then we're putting ourselves set up for possibly an ACL tear, a meniscus tear, who knows what. And the last thing you want to do is injure yourself. So you really have to focus on those takeoff and landing mechanics, and not allowing, as you take off, the knees collapse, or as you land, the knees to collapse into that valgus. So there's a lot going on in jumping mechanics. So throughout all the drills we do, that's what you need to focus on, is the takeoff and in the landing. And then yes, putting as much force through the ground to lift yourself up and how high you can jump, but don't miss out on the most important aspects of the takeoff, the landing, and utilizing our body as a machine to work on seeing, yes, how high we can jump, but again, take off correctly, land correctly, and focus on those aspects and really focus on anticipating the ground on that landing and landing softly.